and we're on to episode 2 of
Chronicles on the Fly.
Chronicles on the Fly. So, g'day, Mel. How you going?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good. All
Can't complain.
So, obviously, this is the second podcast. You want to talk about some feedback we got from the first?
Oh, yeah. I got some
How'd you go
feedback.
from your side? Tell
My
us.
side was all pretty good. I think everyone thought it was quite good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone said I breathe too heavy. I'm sorry. Sinus problems, so I apologise. I'll go see a doctor and get my sinuses redone. So
And a bit echoey, I think, where we were previously. So, yeah, let's not do a podcast from that room again.
I'll find another one.
And also, some audio issues. I think only one microphone was working. So I was talking across the desk into your microphone,
yes.
I think. Some feedback I got was that we should probably introduce ourselves a little bit better, a little bit more in depth about us, our backgrounds and that type of thing. We spoke about like how we know each other and how long we've known each other and things like that. But maybe things like, what we do for a living, whereabouts in the world we are, interests, stuff like that. So you want to go first? Go.
Well, yeah, I'm based in the northern suburbs of Perth. I have
Some of us are.
on the good side of Perth. By trade, I'm an accountant, and I've been doing it for 7 years now. Prior to that, I was in manufacturing, and that was quite interesting. So part of the manufacturing, I was traveling to and from China and Malaysia, so I have extensive experience in that.
Contracting coronavirus.
No, it was swine flu time, actually, back then. So no, it was the swine flu and avian flu, I think it was back then. So it was interesting times. I saw massive changes in China and Malaysia. So it was great experiences.
When was the last time you were in China?
I was in China last year, actually, this time last year, actually. So went back for some other.
For a different.
For different. I dabbled in, I was doing a bit of migration work as well. So I had a few clients over there. They were interested, wanted to set up business in Australia. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But China is you can spend 2 podcasts talking about China. Fascinating country. Definitely a country of extremes. They have some of the most beautiful scenery, some of the most amazing structures, some of the most advanced engineering. And then you go into some factories. What I used to do was like, you pull your hair out and say, really? It's like, really? Well, why are you doing that? You know what I mean? So again, it's a country of extremes.
Contrasts.
Yeah. Great contrast,
Man of many talents. You got a lot of, we're in your office here.
A few certificates hanging up.
A few certificates. So we've got certificates from Edith Cowan University, where we went together. Murdoch. What'd you do at Murdoch?
Grad cert in Murdoch, migration law.
Migration. And what else you got?
Diploma of financial planning.
Yep.
I got a diploma of accounting. So I got a few things on there.
And also, you're a JP.
JP as well.
Justice of the Peace.
Yeah, a judicial officer of the court.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
I don't know.
Who would have thought?
But your fingers in many pies.
I like to keep myself busy. That's what.
What else? Sport-wise, we obviously like talking about sports. So which teams and sports are you a fan of specifically?
Obviously, soccer or football, AFL, in cricket, and my main ones, and obviously motorsport.
And the teams you follow?
Teams I follow in the AFL, I follow West Coast, and I also don't mind Collingwood, believe it or not.
That should not even be mentioned.
I have a soft spot for Collingwood. I thank my brother-in-law for that.
Who has a soft spot for Collingwood?
Matt, my brother-in-law, my nephew, so plus they're black and white, so Juventus, so I don't mind them.
All right, that's one thing, but honestly.
And, motorsport.
I can't believe you even mentioned that. We should cancel this whole bloody podcast.
Holdens, but no longer.
We spent about 15 minutes on that last week.
Obviously a Daniel Ricciardo fan. Valentino Rossi.
All right. I have to pull you up there, okay?
Yes.
We are obviously of an Italian background.
Yes.
Born and raised in Perth.
Mm-hmm.
But we cannot be calling him Daniel Ricciardo. Okay, I know he says it himself, but that's
I'm just going to.
That's a problem in itself.
That's what he calls himself. So
Ricciardo.
Yes, correctly in Italy, you're right. But yeah,
the double CI makes a ch sound.
Yes, I understand, but
it just frustrates me.
I know, but
it's like when people say espresso. I want to break necks when I hear that instead of espresso.
Oh, you call it a short black.
Yeah, well, that could solve the problem. Yeah,
so it solves the problem.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but big Daniel Ricciardo fan.
Yes, we are.
Of MotoGP, love Valentino Rossi, but I'll be honest, I probably prefer the Ducati. So I love the Ducati bikes. It sounds, it's a bit of a passion of mine.
Well,
Ducati
Italian
bikes.
bike.
Yeah, just it's an amazing bike. The sound of the V20 is absolutely incredible. So, real football, soccer. Follow the Italian league. I follow Juventus, as many of my friends do, and also obviously Perth Glory in the A League. In the Premier League, I do like Chelsea.
So for myself, where do I start? Obviously, Perth boy. I have my own business in web design and digital marketing. It was always like a side gig, you could call it. Yeah, passionate about soccer and some other sports as well. In soccer, my team is AS Roma from the Italian capital. Followed them since I was about 6 years old because I had an uncle living in Rome at the time and he sent me a Roma shirt. At the time, I was a kid, knew nothing about them, knew nothing really about soccer, and that was, I suppose, my first introduction to the world game. So I decided that's my team. And, the rest of my family are Juventus fans. And, my brothers will be listening to this, loving hearing that. Look, I don't mind other teams.
Except for Inter, of course.
Yeah. I mean, as a Roma fan, I should hate Lazio, and I do, but more of a dislike for Inter Milan. To me, they are the team of world football to be despised the most, more than any other. And
Even more than Manchester United?
Yes. Yes. I can't stand that club. And that's the way it's always been. It's the way it will always be. And I think that's healthy to have those kinds of sporting hatreds. AFL, obviously grown up loving the West Coast Eagles since their inception. A member of the West Coast Eagles as well. So for the past 2 seasons, I've been going to the games. Before that, I was on the waiting list to get a seat. But now that we've got the new Optus Stadium, finally there's room for me. And that's been great. First season, having a seated membership, we won a premiership. So couldn't complain there in 2018. And also, same as Mel, like the same type of, the same sports and Valentino Rossi and Ferrari and the like. Perth Glory, not really fussed about following the Australian League, to be honest.
I don't mind.
I've got to be honest, I haven't watched a minute of probably more than 5 minutes for, I don't know, maybe the past 3 or 4 seasons. I don't know, I just cannot get into it.
Yeah.
And I don't follow any particular team in the English Premier League, although I do enjoy watching the EPL. And I enjoyed a couple of seasons back when Leicester won the league. I thought that was
great story.
Mainly because Claudio Ranieri, a former Roma coach, he was their manager and won the league with them. And then
I'll make a movie about that one day, I reckon.
Yeah, there's some good stuff on YouTube about that, the Leicester season, their premiership season. But yeah, I did enjoy following Leicester, so maybe there's still a little bit of a leftover soft spot for them, but really, I don't have an English team. So there we go, some better intros of ourselves. I'm not sure if there's anything else that we can cover.
Pretty much it, really.
Both married. Both have 2 kids.
2 children.
2 kids, yeah, which is awesome being a dad.
It is a challenge sometimes, but it is awesome. Very, very rewarding challenge, I'd say.
Would you say it's the hardest or not the hardest, but the most challenging thing you've ever done, being a father?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. But also the most rewarding.
100%. Yeah. 100%, You try and teach them. And it's just they do those little things that frustrate sometimes, and they little smile sometimes.
They drive you insane and you want to wring their neck, and then the next moment they'll do something which just makes you realise and makes you remember why you fell in love with them so easily when they first came along.
Yes.
They're awesome. My daughter's 3rd birthday this weekend. She'll be turning 3. It's gone by in a flash.
Big piss up.
Yeah. Big piss. Yeah, I'm taking her out on the town.
Taking her to the park.
She's taking me.
What is it, a frozen party or is it?
I don't think there's any theme. I don't think there's any theme.
What do you mean not having a theme? You got to have a theme. I've had every theme.
Well, lately, if there was going to be a theme for my daughter's party, it would have to be Peppa Pig.
Oh, I've had Pepper. I've had Wiggles.
She's mad on Peppa Pig.
Frozen. I've had Unicorn. I'm just trying to think what was the other one I had. Ballerina. I'm telling you, I've had them all.
Luckily my daughter hasn't seen Frozen yet. She doesn't have the attention span so at the moment to watch a full movie, so she hasn't gotten into Frozen. But her cousins,
I tell you what, but Frozen 2 hasn't been
coming.
My daughter loved Frozen 1, not so much Frozen 2. I don't know why. I haven't seen it either, so I can't comment.
Yeah, well, the first thing I hear every morning at about 6:30 is the kitchen chair being pushed over to the kitchen bench where we leave the TV remote overnight, so that she can get up and grab the TV remote, and she puts it on YouTube.
Yep.
It's the TV in my house is for watching YouTube basically, according to my daughter. So she knows how to use YouTube on the TV better than I do. So she puts it on YouTube and, of course, Peppa Pig or Blippi.
Oh, Blippi.
Do you know Blippi?
Blippi's a farm truck? No.
He just does a heap of different kind of skits and goes to places. And
he's a local guy, isn't he? Blippi?
No, he's American.
Is he?
Yeah.
What's his door? Oh, yeah.
Blippi. Blippi.
Blippi.
Blippi.
Okay.
That's the one. Yes, Peppa Pig.
I am Peppa Pig. But with Peppa Pig, I don't like sometimes how they portray Daddy Pig. They make him look a bit...
Oh, this could be a whole new podcast as well. Yeah. Although I love Daddy Pig, he's funny as.
He's funny, but, they don't make him look...
My favourite character, I have to say, is Pedro Pony. You know that one?
No,
he's one of the schoolmate kids.
I haven't really got into it that deep.
Yeah, it's probably sad, but I know Peppa Pig very well.
That I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, and the songs too. But okay. Touch on that. The way it's not just the Daddy Pig in Peppa Pig; it's fathers in general. I noticed this. It's just so obvious in my face on mainstream TV shows. Like, think about Modern Family, right? That's probably...
I haven't watched that.
You've never watched Modern Family? Okay. Well,
I don't really watch a lot of
that. That's probably the ultimate stereotype of the dumbed down dad on TV. As much as that, I don't watch it anymore, but when it first started, the first few seasons, it was a very funny show, very witty. But I started getting annoyed with the way the father was so ridiculed and dumbed down.
The father, you mean, is Al Bundy?
No. Well, him too, but he's the grandfather. Okay. Him to an extent.
It's a bit of a contrast from being Al Bundy.
Yeah.
What he was like when he was unmarried with children.
Well, he's not that. He's probably not that different in the show, to be honest. But
I put it this way: I watched a few highlights of Married with Children the other day. There is no way.
No, you couldn't make it these days.
You could not make it this days.
No chance.
There's no chance.
It's
Off the record, someone hilarious, but Jesus Christ, you wouldn't be able to have it today. No chance.
So they in Modern Family, they dumb him down as the grandfather, but the father of the main nuclear family, you could call it, the husband and wife and the three kids family. He is the real, dunce, always doing and saying stupid things, and the wife is the one who's kind of in control.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a comedy, but it's just a common theme, I think, of real dumbed down fathers.
I don't really watch a lot.
And I think maybe now that I am a father, it kind of pisses me off a bit to see that just thrown in people's faces all the time. If it was just the odd one here and there, that's fine. But there are a lot of examples in TV shows these days and mainstream media, I reckon, of fathers being ridiculed and dumbed down rather than being revered, let's say. But anyway, I mean, it is the way it is, and there's not much we're going to do about it. But
I didn't notice really on Peppa Pig. I thought, whoa, Pig.
Yeah, Peppa Pig, they do it too. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Obviously, being a cartoon, I mean, it's more overt, I suppose, when it's The Simpsons, Homer Simpson, but it's part of the comedy as well. It is very funny.
I suppose
it is very funny. The Family Guy, the father there, what's his name?
Peter.
Right? Yes. So it's see what I mean by it being a real common thread. In Peppa Pig, it's probably a slightly more subtle as a cartoon, the dumbing down of Daddy Pig. But it does make for humour too. So I think there's a place for it, but it's just really overdone.
Yeah.
It's never the mother, right? In any, whether it's a cartoon or a TV show, can you think of any dumbed down mothers?
No, never. No.
You know, or the matriarch of the family, it's never done to. But we can take the piss out of dad all the time.
Yeah. Or just, but I didn't notice really with Peppa Pig. Like even with Family Guy and all that, it doesn't really didn't take too much of a note. But with Peppa Pig, I
never got into
like he couldn't
Family
put.
Guy
I think
much.
I noticed one episode he couldn't hang a picture frame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he puts in a nail and it cracks up the whole wall. There's a book about it too.
Yeah.
I read it to my daughter every second night. I mean, the book is about, you know, it's called I Love Daddy Pig, and it's all about the clumsy and silly things that he does.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I think there's a place for it, but I just don't like it when it's overdone, you know, in media across the board.
Yeah. Well, I think it's enough of Pepper.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I thought that we should talk about the intro music for our podcast.
Yeah.
Our good mate John and his son Michael put that together for us. So it's not something that we just pinched off the internet. It's actually been recorded in
his home studio.
A home studio, yeah. We were there. Awesome. We were there when they actually put the riff together.
It's actually a pretty awesome home studio.
Yeah. And so, we're pretty proud of our little intro/outro music. So just wanted to give a shout out and some credit to our mate John and his son Michael.
He'll probably send us a bill, so don't worry.
He can try, but you never know. He might get on the podcast eventually as a guest if he's lucky. Great Perth storm of 2020.
Which lasted 6 minutes.
Did you survive it?
I survived, and I had a few leaks in the office at work and at home, but nothing major. So
really had some leaks here.
Yeah, so some leaks in the office because we did a little extension at the back, so there'll leak through there. But
plug those holes.
Plug those holes, but where our office is in the newest office. So
yeah,
what they were talking about was a massive storm. It lasted honestly 5 minutes, if that.
So I left work last night at 7:30, and it was pitch black. And it was a lightning show, basically.
Yeah.
So I walked out of the office, locked the door, turned around, and this lightning strike. I don't think I've ever shat myself more in my life. It felt like it was maybe across the road and down the street. It was that close.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was probably much further, but it lit up the whole street basically. I've never run so fast in my car. I was out of there and I had probably 35, 40 meters to my car. I bolted, and I swear to God, as I was running towards the car, the thought crossed my mind, they're going to find me scorched on the pavement here on the car park tomorrow morning. I'm going to get struck by lightning. What a way to go. Yeah, and it takes me 4 minutes to get home. The lightning was like pretty thick and fast, I tell you what.
Well, they stopped.
It was scary.
They stopped the football last night because of the lightning.
Did they?
Yeah, in the second quarter.
Okay. It takes me 4 minutes to get to and from the office, and I actually got home just as it ticked over to 3 minutes. I shaved a good quarter off it. I was bolting out of there. One thing I was going to bring up. Last weekend, went to Kings Park.
Yep.
Just for a coffee to meet up with some friends. Quiet day, and nice. It was a nice sunny day. Turn in there, and it was like people everywhere. It was just like, I thought, geez, something's going on here. Wonder what's happening. Just people, swarms of people walking around everywhere. Little groups of 3, 2. Everyone's just walking. Okay. Every single one of these people in these little groups were walking along with their heads buried in these devices, like walking together.
That's a Pokemon again.
It must have been, right? What is this?
I have no idea.
Can you explain this to me?
No, I have no idea.
Because I swear to God, I thought it was the zombie apocalypse.
Mate, I do remember when was it, 3-4 years ago when it was really big, 2-3
I can't believe it's still going on.
When I had a friend of mine that lived just off Kings Park there.
Yeah.
And went for a walk through Kings Park, and it was insane. I was like, what is going on? Like at 9 o'clock at night. I was like, what is going on? That's crazy.
So this is, what do they call it? Augmented reality. That's what it is. That's not what it's called.
I might have to ask my daughter because I'm getting a bit too old for this stuff now.
Don't let your daughters get into this. Seriously,
no.
There were like parents with their kids.
Okay.
And I thought, it's good to get out, right? You're getting out, you're doing something together, kind of in nature, but you're not even looking at it.
Looking at your phone.
You go out to be together, to do something together, whatever this Pokemon nonsense is about, God only knows. But you spend the whole time staring at a device. What's the point of going to, one of the best parks in the country pretty much, and you spend it looking down at a device? Seriously, I think people need their heads slapped.
Examined.
Here we go. A bit of feedback. My brother, actually. The NBN.
Well. We're going to start with that one.
Should I read out his message?
I know he was not a happy camper.
All right, this one's for him. All right, here we go. My NBN was knocked out by the storm this morning. Optus reckon it's an NBN code issue. They're trying to fix it from their end. If not, someone will come around on Tuesday morning. Talk about that on your pod. How our main communications infrastructure is fucked. Good country, Australia.
I do understand his frustration, and I do feel for him because he's 100% correct.
Yeah.
I mean, when I had my NBN installed, I had an appointment. Someone will be out between 8 and 12.
Yeah.
So I took the day off work, waited there between 8 and 12. No one turned up. Then I was on hold. I rang up and I was on hold for half an hour. I need to be told is that the guy didn't come because he didn't have enough material to fix the problem. I'm like, thank you very much for letting me know. I've wasted a whole day, right? And they didn't have the courtesy to call me back.
Yeah.
And it happened once. It happened twice.
Okay. That aside, I mean, that could have been, a tradie coming out to do, to put some shelves in your garage or something like that, right? That kind of stuff happens all the time. But
a courtesy calls on.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But what I mean is that's a stereotype of tradies in general, right? They come late or they don't show up at all. The bad ones. But the state of the NBN, when the technology is out of date now anyway. How many billions of dollars has been wasted?
40, $50 billion.
50 at least, probably approaching 60. Who's at fault for this?
I reckon Malcolm's got a lot to answer for.
Malcolm. Yeah, it's our favourite Polly.
He's got a lot to answer for it. Look, at the end of the day, I look at it this way. At the time when it was introduced, so be it, by Kevin Rudd and Conroy and all that. Yeah. It was fibre to the
home, wasn't it?
To the home, fibre to the home.
And now
they changed. Then Malcolm comes in and changes the fibre to the curb or to the node or whatever.
To the node, which is...
And I'm like, so if they've already spent all the money for the infrastructure to fibre to the home, and he comes in and changes it, what for? Like, you might as well just left it. We've spent all the money anyway, or we plan to do it all anyway. What's the difference? So, and now at the end of the day, you got fibre to the node, and then from the node, you still got the old copper line. What's the point?
But isn't it a redundant technology anyway? With
you think you look at 5G?
What is it? Satellite internet.
Well, at work, I
don't know what those type of plans are worth.
At home, at work, we don't even use NBN. We got satellite on the roof and get straight in.
Really?
Yeah. Node 1, we used it. Fantastic. Highly recommend it.
Do you get dropouts or anything like that?
Never.
All right.
Highly, very, 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 very.
So that's just bypassing the NBN.
Don't even use NBN. Satellite on top of the roof.
Yeah.
Comes in.
That's the way it should all be across the country.
I tell you, I'm getting 70.5 megabits per second.
Jeez, that's pretty good. All right. I've never had that fast. One thing I watched a couple of days ago was the documentary about Adam Goodes, The Australian Dream.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't seen that.
Interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah, watch it. Yeah. Okay. I tried to watch it with an open mind, like both that documentaries are made to influence the way you think of things, one, to their kind of thinking. And, that whole thing was about, Adam Goodes being booed towards the last couple seasons of his career, and how it was, being made out that it was all about him, the fans being racist towards him and that type of thing. And with no doubt there was that element for sure.
Oh, there was always going to be an element of racism, but that doesn't mean that
I don't think everyone was. I think it was just a lot of people just being sheep as well.
And to Adam Goods is an absolute superstar of a player.
Yeah.
Dual Brownlow medalist.
Yeah. I mean, because I think
grand finalist.
to some extent, I think he didn't help his cause.
I don't look towards the end,
but also nothing he did deserved what he copped.
No, he did not. If you look at the beginning of his career to the end of his career, he did stage a little bit towards the end of his career compared to what he did like in the beginning of his career. And at the end of the day, people, any sport does that. People are not going to get irritated.
I don't think it was mostly about. I think maybe it was a little bit about staging, maybe a little bit initially. But I don't think it ended up being about that. When he called out that Collingwood, that young girl, 13-year-old girl, or 12 or 13-year-old girl, whatever she was, right? I mean, I don't think he saw who it was in the crowd. He just heard her voice, call him a derogatory term. Once he pointed to her, that was it. He couldn't not point to her. He couldn't take that back, and that was it. The security guards threw her out, but what was done to her was not right.
No, she's 12 years old,
and look, she was held without her mother or grandmother, whoever she was with, for like 2 hours. It was rough, right? That was just not on. Like whatever. If she was going to be kicked out, she should have had her parent or guardian with her. That was just not on to take out the young girl on her own like that. But I think the pile-on, I suppose, started because people didn't like that. I suppose it was seen like she was all the blame, or she was called racist. Okay, I don't know if she was. I mean, what she said was a racist thing to say. I don't think that you could say that she was a racist person. She probably just said things that she'd heard, okay, without even connecting it to race. That's what it seemed to me. But once that snowball had started, it was too late. It was like, and then he didn't help himself the next day when he said, racism has a face and it's a 12-year-old girl. Okay, and that just didn't sound quite right. And then you got people like, Andrew Bolt talking about and saying those type of things. He didn't like how he's dumped this girl on him. Because if anyone's going to be, called out for racism, fair enough. Someone, should be made an example of. But the one that was chosen for it, I think that is what got people offside. Yeah. Right? So because of that, people were like, that's it, we're going to get you back. Which, I don't know, is that a form of racism in itself? I'm not sure how you define it. That one. I know. It's, I don't know. I'm not sure where to go with that, but it's a really interesting and I suppose thought-provoking documentary. So I watched it, like I said, with an open mind, trying to think of, basically put yourself in his shoes. Because, as an Indigenous person, you don't know their experience, their life experience. Oh, yeah. Okay. And their thought process can come with a lot of, I suppose, baggage in a way of past wrongs that have been done to them and things like that. So, you can look at it and say, what bit of booing wasn't racist, but you're not that person, and you don't know how someone takes something. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. And I'm not the type of person that's going to go to the footy and abuse someone in any sense. Definitely not in a racist way, but even I remember one of the first times I ever went to the footy was in the probably late 80s of the Eagles at Subiaco Oval. I went to see Eagles against Hawthorn. And they were a damn good team at that time.
Oh, they had a fantastic team back in the late 80s.
And at one point, the ball came, I was standing pretty much close to the fence. It was standing everywhere at that time. Subiaco Oval was very different to the way it ended up being. And one time the ball came out right near where I was, and John Platten, remember Johnny Platten?
Johnny Platten, the rack.
Great player.
Great player.
For some reason, he ran off the pitch, like kind of chasing the ball, and he kind of stopped himself up against the fence. And so he was like as far as we are apart, like across the desk, like a meter away. And I just yelled out, Platten, you something, all right? Just leave it at that. I don't know why. It's just you're at the footy and it's the thing to do. You just get, caught up in the moment. And what was I, 10 years old? But as soon as I said it, I regretted it. And I've never done something like that ever again. Yeah, I don't know why. People just get caught up.
I'd like to speak to like a an Indigenous footballer from the late 80s, early 90s, because they would have experienced real
for sure.
racism.
For sure.
I mean, you start with, you talk of Nicky Wimmer, Michael Long, Nicky Wimmer.
Exactly. Michael Long too.
The Cracker Brothers,
Yeah.
Phil Narkle, Troy Eagle, all these players, they would have experienced racism. Chris Lewis.
I was going to say even Chris Lewis. I think wasn't when he bit Todd Viney, was that? Was there something about that there? I don't know. I'm just trying to remember the story.
I can't remember the full story. I was a young kid.
Or if it was
then.
just that he was being poked in the face. I don't know.
Poked in the mouth.
Yeah, okay.
I suppose if someone sticks their hand in your mouth, what are you going to do? What's your natural instinct, I suppose, to bite,
If you got yourself, you're in a headlock, you do whatever you can.
I believe they experienced real.
No doubt about it.
Especially when Nicky Wimmer with that famous photo. I mean, could you imagine what he would have copped at Victoria Park?
Apparently him and Gilbert McAdam.
Gilbert McAdam, there's another great
both
player.
of them that day. Because, they were both speaking in this documentary too. So it's really interesting. You should watch it. It's on ABC iView. See what you think. But they were both copying it. This is why I don't understand why you got a soft spot for Collingwood. Those fans are feral, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Like I said, I have a soft spot for Collingwood. Number one, because I like the colours. Number two, my nephew and my brother-in-law, big Collingwood supporters, and they kind of turned me a bit. Right. And I'll be honest, I went to I think it was the 2009 or 2010 Anzac Day game.
Yeah, and I would have supported Essendon.
I'm not a fan of Essendon, so personally, I really don't like them.
I don't know what you got against Essendon. Put that the drug scandal a few years back aside. You've never liked them.
Never liked them, from day one,
because I always liked the baby bombers, right, and James Hird especially.
Great player, fantastic player, great player, no question about it. Just never liked it.
James Hird could put the ball on your chest on the run, 50 meters away. Just brilliant.
No question about it. Fantastic. One of the greatest players ever to play the game. But I just don't like Essendon.
All right.
And so when I went to watch that game, I went to back then it was the Lexus Centre, now it's the Holden Centre. Holden Centre for the rest of the year. Then after that, you have to find a new sponsor. But
I went there once, actually. A few years back when I went to Melbourne, I was there for the Springsteen concerts. Because, the shows were at Rod Laver Arena. So I just, I was like lining up to get the, close spot. But during the day, one day I walked across the road and went to the Lexus Centre there. And I was just looking, they got, like memorabilia and stuff.
Yeah, and I really appreciated the memorabilia, the history, the passion and it was full of Collingwood supporters, and there was some old players there, talking. It was fantastic, and it was like, I really appreciated and respected the passion that the Collingwood supporters have got. So, hats off to them that day there. I donned the black and white.
You wore something?
No, I didn't wear a Collingwood. I had a jumper which was black and white. So, I supported Collingwood.
All right, then.
And ever since then, like I said, I've had a soft spot for Collingwood, which comes to a shock to a lot of Eagle supporters and even Collingwood supporters.
Comes as a shock to me because you're telling me something they've never told me before, that's for sure. But I comes
to a shock, like even a couple of Collingwood supporters, and they go, "Oh, you're West Coast supporter, you're typical West Coast this and that." I said, "Mate, I actually like Collingwood." "Oh, bull, you're lying, you're just saying that."
Do you like Richmond as well?
No,
How about the Dockers?
No, can't stand. No,
all right.
Don't like the Dockers. Don't like Richmond. Definitely don't like Essendon. I never used to like North Melbourne, but again, I've got a brother-in-law now who supports them, so I come around to North Melbourne.
It frustrates me when you get people that they follow both the Eagles and the Dockers. That annoys me.
But my mother's one of the. She's an Eagles supporter,
but because they're from WA,
they're from Perth, so she goes.
No. Do you think that Man United supporters follow Manchester or like Manchester City as well?
Definitely not.
Do you think Liverpool supporters hope that Everton win when they're not playing against each other? No.
The interim.
No, the AFL should have relegation. The Dockers should get relegated and never come back.
Unfortunately, that's the problem.
That's the way I feel about the Dockers.
Unfortunately, the problem with the AFL is that you don't have relegation.
We're on Facebook as well. I forgot to mention that before. So if anyone wants to send us any suggestions, first of all, like our page on Facebook. Obviously, it's just called Chronicles on the Fly Podcast. Search for that on Facebook. like and subscribe and whatever you do there on Facebook. We'll throw up the odd post here and there. What else you got, Mel?
I've got a couple of things. I want to talk about the Chinese swimmer, Mr. Sun Yang. Remember Sun Yang, the Chinese swimmer?
No.
The one that Mack Horton, the Australian swimmer, didn't want to stand up?
What I thought it was. What about him? What's he done?
Apparently, he's just been banned for 8 years for breaking anti-doping rules.
Really?
So now look at Matt Horton. He's actually...
Okay.
Can't blame him. You know what I mean?
On the way here, I was actually listening to how... I think it's Mack Horton's old school opening a new pool or something like that, pool house, whatever you want to call it, and they were going to name it after him, but they've decided not to.
Ridiculous.
Because I think they want to attract Chinese students, and so not to offend them, because Mack Horton called out this Chinese swimmer, they've decided not to. Why? Really?
I don't know.
That's unbelievable. Firstly, why would you tell people that you were going to call it after him anyway?
Off the record, I've always been a believer, and my brother kind of made a good point about this, and I've taken it on board. You should never call something or a place or a stadium or
after a living person.
Yeah.
Because
obviously, Margaret Court is a prime example at the moment, whether you agree with her or you don't. You know what I mean? A lot of controversy has been stirred up.
That's disgraceful how she's being treated. I'm sorry.
Regardless whether you agree with it or not, I mean, personally, I believe in free speech. That's me. Regardless, this wouldn't have been such a big controversy if her name wasn't Margaret Court Arena. Hence by Bob Hawke School now. Straight after he died, they called it Bob Hawke School.
Yeah, and not long before that, that story came out about how he covered up his daughter's rape. Right?
Yeah.
That's sick. Yeah.
Well, we'll never know.
Well, exactly. As it's not proven, so what can you do? It was already in plan to call the school after him.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he's passed on, so you never know.
Yeah, exactly. It goes with him, doesn't it? Margaret Court. She's the greatest female tennis player ever. Still.
Mm-hmm.
Still is, especially also if you take into account her doubles record. She won a heap of doubles as well. So if you want to compare her to Serena Williams, well, Serena Williams doesn't have the doubles record even that Margaret Court does, and she's not using a wooden racket either.
Yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, a wooden racket makes things.
So yeah, Margaret Court for sure. I think is easily the greatest player ever. But I've got no problem with her reputation now aside. I've got no problem with the fact that they called it Margaret Court Arena. What's the big deal? She's like, her record speaks for itself. So
not disputing about a record. I just think it just avoids a controversy.
While people are alive, they've got a chance to do something.
Could you imagine if they called? Well, okay, here's one for you. What if they called the Heath Ledger Stadium Theatre before called it Ralph Harris Stadium or Ralph Harris Theatre?
Who's Ralph Harris?
Ralph Harris.
Oh, Rolf Harris.
Oh, Rolf Harris. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You would have to change the name.
Exactly. So
all right, but hang on. There's a little bit of a difference there, being a pedophile, the scum of the earth, versus having opinions and speaking your mind that people don't agree with.
I'm just talking about controversies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As in, like, would you?
Yeah. Okay. If that had been called Rolf Harris Theatre, for example, definitely you would have to change it, and fair enough.
Absolutely.
And fair enough.
Yeah.
I got no.
That's why I like them. Yeah, I did agree with that comment and said once they're passed on, by all means, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But
it's a good way to honour.
But even with Margaret Court, I reckon that if you took an honest poll of every Australian that you can't force everyone to have an opinion, but everyone who does have an opinion, I reckon it would fall more in her favour than against.
Like I said, I'd have no problem with what she said because I'm a believer in free speech.
Whether you agree, it's not the fact of agreeing with what she said, but the fact that she's allowed to say it. Okay. And I think that it's been overblown what she said as well, because I think a lot of what she said has been put on her, right? Words put in her mouth, things that she didn't say as well. Right? I don't want to go into any further detail on that, but that's what I think.
I personally think she's got a fantastic record. And I'm a believer in free speech.
Yeah, I actually spoke to her once around when my son was born. I ran into her at the in the car park at the hospital because through her church she does a lot of I don't know exactly what she does, but she goes to hospitals and sees people and I suppose ministers or whatever you want to call it to them. Okay, and she was arriving as I was leaving in the car park, and I had a quick chat with her, and she was lovely. She was really nice.
Apparently, she does some amazing work for homeless people.
Yeah,
and people in need. So
anyway, I've got no problem with her. So I mean, the fact is, whatever she said, she was asked her opinion. All right, I think she was doing an interview. She's done interviews, been asked her opinion, and given her honest opinion. Okay, if people don't like it, well, she was asked. She's not just trying to put it in your face. But anyway, that's my opinion.
Just curious. While we're on tennis, your thoughts on Dylan Alcock? The disabled tennis player.
Dylan Alcock, I think
he's an absolute star.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that. A star at what he does. I don't know if I'd ever watch a full match of it, of wheelchair tennis, but yeah, no doubt at that sport, he's the best. He's the best at it. Yeah, and all credit to him.
What are your thoughts on? Okay, so men and women get the same money
in tennis. No. Women should play 3 sets. Should play 5 sets. I don't think they're physically incapable of that.
What I'm saying is, if men and women get the same, why can't a guy in a wheelchair get the same as? Why should he be punished and not get the same money as what? If the women
I think that's
the women and the men are getting the same money. I mean, that's tough. What he's doing is tough, man.
Yeah. Okay, that's an interesting one there, actually.
I mean,
obviously
he plays 3 sets. He plays 3 sets, just like the women do.
Yeah, right.
And the men play 5 sets. Okay.
Yeah.
So why does
obviously it comes down to the money provided in the sport, right? By sponsorship and also by the tournaments. Yeah, that's never going to happen.
But my point is
being realistic, that's never going to happen. But if you think about it in terms of the women's game should, being treated equally as the men's game in terms of prize money, then yeah, technically, the wheelchair game should be treated the same as well. Technically,
that's what I'm like.
Where'd you come up with this? Because I haven't heard anyone calling for this.
I was having a discussion with a relative of mine, and the person made a good point. He goes, well, if the men are playing 5 sets, the women are playing 3 sets, and this guy's playing 3 sets, why can't he get the same money?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
This is interesting, actually, because then if you take into account, okay, there's the workload. Let's call it the workload, right? 3 sets versus 5 sets. 3 sets for women versus 5 sets for men. I believe that women are capable of playing the 5 sets, right? Don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they are. I think they've got the fitness for it.
100%.
Yeah. Because some games can be over in an hour and people not getting what they're paid for.
As a spectator.
Yeah. But then on the other hand, take NBA versus WNBA, because this is a similar argument. People are calling for the women's NBA to be paid the same as the NBA. And that doesn't come down to workload, right? Because they play the same amount of minutes, I assume.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I believe so.
I don't know if they play the same number of games across a season. I'm not sure about that. But just, game for game, they play the same. They do this. They have the same workload in a game, 4 quarters, right? So that obviously just comes down to popularity. Tennis has overridden the popularity and the workload.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know where I'm getting that.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to say something controversial. I'm just saying it's so in comparison, if the women's game in tennis, the women's tennis did play 5 sets, just like the women's basketballers play the same amount as the men's basketballers, right? Can you see what I mean? Like, then there could still be an argument for women not getting the same amounts as the men. Not an argument for it, but the same kind of logic as the basketball as why they. The only reason
and another thing that came to my mind about it was that the Australian Open, whether it's the men, the female, the wheelchair, the doubles or the mixed doubles, it's all played at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not played at different times of the year. It's all at the same time in the same tournament.
Mm.
So what makes this particular tennis player worth less than this particular tennis player? Well, just because he's in a wheelchair? Well, he's still playing in the same tournament.
Yeah.
He's still playing the Australian Open at the same time.
At the end of the day, that it comes down to,
because at the end of the day,
people what earns money?
Yeah, but who's the major sponsor for the Australian Open? Who was it? Was it?
It might be Kia. I don't know.
Or whoever the major sponsor was. They sponsored the Australian Open. And the Australian Open consists of the men's, the women's, the mixed doubles, the wheelchair.
So that sponsorship money should be divided.
Why shouldn't it be divided?
Evenly between each stream of the tournament.
Why shouldn't it be?
I can see an argument for it. It's hard. You can't say no.
Because I mean, I don't know.
I just haven't heard anyone calling for that in the media.
Oh, no one would call for it, but I was like, why wouldn't he? Why shouldn't he?
What does he make, roughly? I think I actually might have heard that he only earns something like $50,000 for winning the tournament.
Yeah, and the men and the women win like...
How many million? That's a bit of an ugly disparity.
Yeah, okay, let's have a look here. So the winner for the singles gets 4.12 million.
For both men and women?
Yeah.
Right. And does it have the prize money for the doubles, the mixed doubles?
760,000, and the mixed doubles 190,000.
What? That's a big drop from doubles to mixed doubles.
Well, that's what it says. That's what it says here.
Like, why would you bother with mixed doubles? And does it have the wheelchair winners prize money?
It has the wheelchair points. Doesn't have the.
No, I can see it.
Well, he's not going to be making as much as $4 million, is he? He's definitely not going to be making $4 million.
Yeah, give the bloke a couple $100,000 at least.
Yeah.
Jeez. Or they just take the whole prize pool money and divide it equally along each stream.
Mm.
But the thing is, that's not going to happen because it's a capitalist structure, right? You could say. So it's going to be based on the money that brings into tennis, okay, or the tournament itself, okay. So, I mean, I suppose even women's tennis, does it bring in as much money as the men's tennis in terms of, doubles doesn't bring in as much as the singles.
Mm.
Mixed doubles doesn't bring in as much as even doubles and even, and obviously singles. And then the wheelchair version, like I said before, I probably wouldn't watch a full game. I might live if I went to it live, but I probably wouldn't watch a full game on TV.
Mm.
But if I happen to be in Melbourne during the Australian Open and, I had the opportunity to go to a game because what else am I going to do? I'm there for the tennis anyway. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to go to a wheelchair game. I'd probably go. I'd go.
It actually doesn't even tell me how much he made on the internet. Oh, okay. How much? Just said he raised $40,000 for the bushfires.
Yeah, actually, that's right. Yeah, he did. I wonder how much he donated himself. Did he give $40,000 himself?
Yeah, apparently.
Out of winning, I think 50 or something like that. I think the prize money was 50. I might be wrong, but I think I remember hearing something like that. So in that case, he's picked up $10,000 for the tournament. All right. But then again, this bloke goes around the world winning every bloody tournament.
Oh, he's good at what he does.
Yeah, he's a star. Yeah, he's good at what he does.
And he's actually really funny. If you ever seen him,
he's a good bloke. Mm. Yeah, I like seeing him on TV. He's a good guy. On the subject of, sports people in wheelchair, I reckon one of the most inspirational ones, apart from Dylan Alcott, is Kurt Fearnley. You know who he is?
No, I can't say I do.
He's like a wheelchair racer. I think he's retired now, but he's won a shitload of gold medals in the Paralympics, like 3 or 4 Paralympics or something. But yeah, you look him up, and he actually walked the Kokoda track. I don't know how many years ago.
Oh, is that the guy on his hands?
Yeah, on his hands. He doesn't have legs.
Yeah.
The bloke's a champion. Yeah, there was that SBS program with Julia Zamiro, something at home. I can't remember, but yeah, there was a documentary about him. Yeah, it's just really top, interesting bloke. I've always liked listening to him talk, and whenever I see like an interview of him, I always pay attention. He's just a champion.
Interesting. I might have to look that one up actually.
Yeah, Kurt Fernley, champion. I'm not sure. Was he Australian of the Year or
Dylan Alcott?
No.
Kurt
Kurt Fernley. Sure. I think he's had some award, Australian of the Year awards.
Yeah,
and probably Dylan Alcott has as well.
Oh, I'm sure he definitely deserves it. Oh, mate, what he's done for wheelchair tennis. Would you have even thought about wheelchair tennis prior to Dylan?
Well, how long have they actually been playing it?
Well, he must have been playing it for a while. He's won 6 or 7 Australian Opens. Plus Wimbledon's and everything else he's won. And then when it was actually my brother who brought her up to me, and he was like, that makes a good point. Why shouldn't he get paid substantially more? There's so much money.
I mean, yeah. Even if he's not going to get 4 million, shit.
Okay,
give him something that he's set up.
Okay,
for life.
Surely that the winner gets 4.12 million. All right.
Yeah.
Both male and female. Why couldn't they get paid 3 million or 3.5 and give $1 million to him? Is that such a big?
No, I agree.
Huh?
Yeah, but in that case, there'd be an argument also to bump up the prize money for the other. Mixed doubles, 100 grand or whatever that is. That's nothing.
That's nothing. But they should.
Yeah, I agree.
There's $71 million in the prize pool in the Australian Open. That's a lot of money.
Have you seen this story about the Houston Astros?
Which one was that one?
Houston Astros. They were
the baseball team.
Yeah, the baseball. Yeah. So they won the World Series.
Oh yes,
2017, I think. Yeah. And what they were doing was they had someone spying on, in baseball they do the signals for pitcher to catcher of what they're going to pitch. So they had someone spying on the signals and sending signals to the batter, so he knew what pitch was coming. Right. And they did this for like seasons. I think something like 2 seasons. And they won a World Series doing this. But I don't think it's against the law. I don't think it's against the rules. I think it's against the morals.
Ethically.
But I don't know if there's going to be any punishment for it. Like they can't take the World Series off them. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't know if what's happening there.
They were just smarter.
So what they were doing was for a particular pitch, for just one example, for a particular pitch, they would have a metal bin in the dugout. So before the pitch came, there was like probably like a camera set up, staring down, the catcher, so they knew what signal the catcher was giving the pitcher. Right. So they knew what was coming, and whoever was looking at this camera would tell the dugout, and then the dugout would make a signal by the number of bangs on the bin that the batter would hear. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he would know what, and I might not have it exactly 100% right, but you know what I mean? They were finding out what the pitch was coming and then signaling to the batter. And they've even been accused of having some kind of buzzer on like strapped to their chest type of thing as well. Because you don't always, when they're showing these old replays, you don't always hear the bin being banged. So people are wondering, how else did they know? They must have had a buzzer or something, strapped to their bodies.
Interesting.
Sickening, actually.
Is it against the rules?
I don't think it's technically against the rules, but even if they've got to bring it in, they've got to change that somehow. Yeah, if that was the Yankees, I'd be like, geez, that's gross. I wouldn't want the Yankees to win like that.
Did they break the rules? Did they break the rules?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on this area, and
baseball's always a bit iffy with the rules.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an ugly way to win. So let's wrap it up and like us on Facebook, Chronicles on the Fly. Cheers.